on, I think we've touched on a bunch of our fun stories. There's so many more. They'll probably show up in our conversations in the future. But individually, who are we? Who are these people you're listening to? So I do want to touch on something Isaiah kind of talked about earlier, which is he was a missionary, and I want to know who you are individually, after that experience coming back here, and then also I kind of want to see what you're up to now and kind of what things you're doing, and also what you like doing. Introduce yourself. So yeah.
Yeah, so, let's see. In Romania, my dad worked with a lot of the youth there because there was a big gap in ministry for the youth. And so my dad did a lot of outreach to the youth there. He coached a soccer team for a while, taught guitar. He's just this awesome guy who does everything and teaches everything. Then after a while, we kind of got to the point where there were people there who could fill our position. And so we decided we should probably move back to the States. Maybe scope out and see if there's another place that we're needed. And so we moved back to the States, and there was a while where we went to Mexico. There's some fun stories from that.
Definitely tell those stories soon. We'll get those on there.
And then after that, we decided that Mexico wasn't the place for us at the time, so we came back here and have been getting more involved in the church ever since then. And my sisters and I especially have been getting involved in camp. Esther kind of started that off, and it's been going ever since.
Didn't you go there when you were little?
Yeah, so we went there on furlough.
Okay.
From our mission trip, because as missionaries, you come back to the States or your country of origin on what we call a furlough, which is where you go to different churches, talk about the things that you've been doing, talk about the needs that are in these countries, try and encourage people to be spreading the gospel, whether it's just where they are or if it is on the mission field. So on some of our furloughs, we would specifically make it to where we were there long enough to go to kids camps.
Those are much
especially
needed.
here in Oregon, because we have the best one.
Unbiased.
Completely unbiasedly.
So with that, adjusting back to America, to this country, moving back, how was it getting back into going to public school and going to places like youth group and Sunday school where you aren't in the missionary field anymore? And it's interesting because would you have said that Romania was your home your entire life, and then you kind of moved here to Oregon, to America afterwards? Like I think we've touched on that before, but
well, I've never considered myself to have like a set home.
Okay. Well, that's a good thing.
As a missionary, I mean, we were in Romania for a long time. I made friends there, but then at the same time, going to conferences with different missionaries, I met missionary kids from a bunch of different places, made friends with them, and just kind of realized that the geography of where you are doesn't really define who you are. So that was my experience with that. And then moving back here, it's interesting because my sisters both got very shocked because in Romania there's not a whole lot of sarcasm.
Okay.
So one of my sisters had an especial difficulty with people in youth group always using sarcasm, so she thought they were just rude.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be tough. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it was especially tough on her. And then my older sister Abby had a completely different experience of what what Esther and I had.
Okay.
Moving back. But then for me, I didn't really have this big, huge culture shock moment.
Okay. Yeah.
Because, I mean, I have friends here, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a bit of adjusting time,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which
And
was nice.
that's really
Yeah.
good. I'm really happy to hear that. Well, when it comes to individually, so after the adjustment, after you're here, and you have been involved with camp and you have been involved with the church, but now you're out of high school. You're a full-blown adult, you know. You're
Yeah.
driving.
So
What is that
Tell us
like?
about that. Yeah, tell us about that.
It's been a hesitant journey.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Where do I even start with this? So COVID hit, right?
Yes.
Right as I was about to graduate. It was during spring break. I like to say now that I'm still on spring break because I never got back into school from it.
That's amazing.
And yeah, so that happened, and then it was just like, okay, well, I need to do something with my time. So I started working at Amazon, and that's going really well. But then they announced that camp is going to be coming back, and
Hopefully, right?
hopefully,
Yeah.
yes,
Looks very good right now.
looks very good for
Yeah.
camp. So I'm super pumped about that, and I signed up for a staff position where I would be staying out there for about 7 weeks or so.
Okay. Yeah.
And yeah, so it's just a lot of seeing where the opportunities are and trying to take over with those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it sounds like you're gonna be trying to do that camp position, and then of course you were working at Amazon, or you are working at Amazon right now.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself after?
Okay, so big things. I would love to use my voice, and if I learn to play instruments better, in some way, shape, or form. My dad, when he was growing up, went to this church where there was this lady who had a lot of instruments and stuff and donated it to the church and started teaching kids how to play all these different things. And so it's kind of my dream to be that person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is able to bring this fun new thing into the church and help kids to learn how to put their talents to use. And if music isn't their talent, maybe it's photography or graphic design. We'll have someone like Jacob doing that. And
Exactly.
so my dream is to just be the person who can help people in the church to find what they're passionate about and find out a way to use that for the growth of the kingdom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's awesome.
I'm not completely sure of what specifically that'll look like,
Yeah.
but that's my goal.
Yeah.
And you're involved as a youth leader in our church, and you definitely, would you say you are looking to continue being a youth leader throughout your entire life, in whatever shape, and form that is?
Yeah. So there are a few people in our church who have this legacy of being youth pastors for 20 plus years. And I would love to be one of those people. While we were going through junior high and high school, it was kind of a shamble of who's going to be the leader next year and who's going to do this and who's going to do that, because people just weren't taking the job and then pushing through with it. It's just kind of been a seasonal thing for most people. So I would love to be working with the youth as long as possible and as consistently as possible. But it's all about where God takes me.
Exactly.
Of course,
and I totally respect that. And I mean, wherever you end up, there will always be opportunities for you to serve the Lord in that way or other ways. And it sounds like when it comes to the musical teaching or just teaching people how to chase their passion in the church, right? That can happen anywhere. And as we move further into, this digital age and just being able to connect in very many ways, right? That is even more possible, and especially when you can also find resources on how to better teach people these things. And so I totally love hearing that. And thank you, Isaiah. I think that for Michael and I individually, who we are, I think that because the channel is primarily ran by Michael and I, we